We're not really taught how to manage our money, and we're not really taught what to do when we make money. I started my journey out on Wall Street as a financial advisor, and I was only working there for about a year and a half, but I've always been obsessed with personal finance until I started working my job on Wall Street, and I realized that a lot of people were not financially literate. And even some of my clients are like, Julia, you helped me make so much money, but now what do I do from here? What do you do with your money? What do you do when the money comes in? Where do you put it? Where do you invest? Where do you save? This is not financial advice. I am no longer certified. My certifications have actually expired. And no, I don't plan on re-getting them. But what I am going to tell you is what I've done to get me here, because a lot of the habits that I do now, even though I'm at the multi-6-figure level, scaling to 7 figures, really came from when I was in debt. So the very first thing I say to everybody is pay down your debt first. Now, a lot of people say, right, there's good debt, like a mortgage, and then there's bad debt, like student debt or credit card debt. But the thing is, debt really holds an energetic weight. When I first found out I was in debt, the first thing I had to do was face it head on. So what I did was I used an app like Credit Karma, and when I pulled up my credit score, I could see all my debt and everything that was in my name. Even though we talk a lot about compound interest around here and how good compound interest can be, there's also such thing as negative compound interest. So if you're in credit card debt, for example, you're getting charged a lot of fees for having that debt, and credit card fees are one of the highest. So first figure out how much you owe, and then you can create a financial plan, like really simple, to be able to pay that off in a certain amount of time. The second one is such a hot tip, but I can't believe how many people don't know it, is to switch from a regular savings account to a high yield savings account. So I personally have a savings account with Marcus. This is not sponsored, but I do have an affiliate link with them. So definitely check it out in the description or the show notes. I've gotten so many of my personal friends to sign up for this. If you do decide to sign up with my affiliate link, you're actually going to get an additional 1% because people just don't know. So when you have a bank, for example, Chase Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, their savings account interest is not that high. Maybe it's like 1% or even sometimes like 0.01%, really, really low. If you have $10,000 saved, each year you're making an additional $430. And when you start saving a lot of money, that adds up. And also too, like even when I just had a couple $1,000s in my savings account, still, who would want to sleep on a free $400, $500? Tip number 3 is to use a credit card wisely. Now, it's a little bit controversial because if you're in debt, like maybe you have some credit card trauma, which I totally understand. I've personally never been in credit card debt. The kind of debt I was in was student debt, but I can understand why a lot of people don't want to get into credit cards because there's a lot of fear around them. But I want to flip the perspective and share how essential credit cards really are and how awesome they are. So one of my favorite things to do in my free time is like be like a points hacker, because I'm obsessed with credit card points. If you haven't seen my video yet on YouTube, I talk about how I was able to get 2 business class seats to Bali for just $96. And this was life-changing for me and my partner to enjoy this experience of flying business class on a 35-hour flight. It was 3 flights. Oh my God, it was so nice. Like it was almost felt so easy to come here. This is why I love credit card points so much, because especially if you're spending in your business, why not accumulate points? I would never spend more money than I have. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that a lot of people get into this vicious cycle of spending before they actually have money. They're depending on money coming in or feeling like, oh, something's going to come in and then I can afford this thing. You can't actually afford it, in my eyes, until you have the money in your account. Next is one of my favorites is the book I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. This book has changed my life because there's such basic financial tips that you can use in your everyday life. That's where I learned about a high yield savings account, and that's where I learned about some of these other tips I'm going to continue to share with you today. There's so many great resources out there. Take your time to educate yourself, because that's how I learned. Even though I grew up in a family where my parents are immigrants, so they were very much like money doesn't grow on trees, save your money, save. I was kind of always in that mindset to just save your money. But then I realized just saving your money and constantly holding on to it is also not that good. So learning to educate myself, right, through my college education, through working a job in finance, right, because I was passionate about this stuff and I still am. And number 5 is have separate bank accounts. I can't believe how many people don't do this, and here's why it's so important. So when you're running a business, you do not want to mix your business income and your personal income. So I think even before I established established an LLC, or maybe it was right as I established my first LLC, I opened up a business bank account. And what I did was I put all of the money that I made in my business only in that bank account. When you mix it, it gets very confusing very fast. This is also something I did when I was in debt. So any money that I had made from my Poshmark store, or my business per se at the time, what I did was I funneled it all to one bank account. So I knew that anything I made from Poshmark, anything I made from online side hustles, babysitting, whatever it was that I was doing, then all that money went right to my debt. So same thing for my business, right? Whenever I made any business income, that's not my personal income. I have expenses, I have a team, right? You have softwares, you want to maybe reinvest. So always keep it separate. Track your financials every single month. I pay $500 a month for a bookkeeper, and I still track all of my expenses, because what's so important is that you know your numbers. You see exactly where your money's going. You see exactly where your money's coming in. If you don't look at this every day, if you don't look at this every week, every month, you're going to be in big trouble. I want to know where my money's going. I want to know how much money I'm making, and I want to know how much money I'm spending. So what I do is I have an abundance date with myself on the first of every single month. And what I do is I track all my finances, and it takes me about an hour to do everything for the entire month. And it helps me see, is the business growing? Is the business slowing down? Are we having a dip? Are we having a massive growth spurt? It also allows me to reflect, and I make it really fun. I actually put on a playlist on Spotify called an abundance playlist, and I listen to all this high vibrational music while I'm doing my revenue and expenses, right? My P&L sheets. Building wealth starts in your mind first. So even when I was in debt, I had a really wealthy mindset. I knew that it was not forever. I knew the kind of woman that I wanted to be. I knew that I always wanted to be really wise with my money. I wanted to be educated. I wanted to learn. I wanted to heal my relationship with money. Really think about the relationship that you have with money, and really start to ask yourself, what can I do differently to embody the wealthiest version of me today? If you know someone that this could really support and help, it would mean the world to me if you could just send this to them. Send this to them, because I think more people, women, people just in general, need to learn and be educated on personal finance. And like I said, I'm no expert. I'm not certified. This is not financial advice. This is just personally what has worked for me in my life to really build myself up to where I am today. And I think too, a lot of people are talking about how to make money, but they're not talking about what you're doing with the money once you make it.